So is AI really going to take over flying airplanes and cause the loss of pilot positions? Let's talk about it. The aviation industry hasn't been around all that long. We were only building airplanes about 120 years ago, if that blows your mind. That's kind of crazy. Both the introduction and the development of AI technology, especially with ChatGPT and all those sorts of advancements, especially in the consumer, now reaching the consumer side of all these technologies. Just imagine what we haven't seen yet that isn't in the consumer in consumers' hands. I'm sure you have heard of autopilot, but let's talk a little bit about it. Autopilot systems are in airplanes as big as Boeing 747s or things like that, and as small as little airplanes. Obviously, there are varying degrees of autopilot systems, but the general principle is the same. Really, it's kind of a joke that airline pilots aren't really pilots. They're more of just autopilot managers, because that's really what you do. You make a flight plan, you take off, you turn on the autopilot, you drink your coffee, you manage the autopilot, and then you turn off the autopilot, land, and go home. Because these autopilot systems are really advanced. Some systems can even land the airplane on its own, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. Especially you see this in the SUAS, or small unmanned aerial systems, or drone market, mostly in the military sector, but the things that artificial intelligence can do is absolutely mind-boggling. And what really takes it to the next level is machine learning, which is the concept that not only can artificial intelligence replicate intelligence, but it can replicate intelligence in the fact that it can learn from its mistakes and it can learn from outcomes that are better or worse and actually make adjustments to how it will handle that situation in the future, which is exactly how humans work. So now not only do we have robots in a sense, these robots can actually learn from their mistakes, which is actually kind of scary when you think about it. There are robots in restaurants that will actually replace your waiter. They'll take your order, bring over your food. Ones with machine learning capabilities might bump into a table. It can rescan the floor layout and enter that new data so that it won't hit that table again. It's absolutely crazy. So how does this play into aviation? Well, aviation is going to be one of the industries that gets hit last down the list, at least pilot jobs, because largely flying is a very complicated issue and we still definitely need a pair of human hands behind the wheel, especially because you get into ethics issues. If a robot is flying an airplane and that airplane crashes or has a rough landing, who's to blame, really? Obviously, what's going to catch all the flack is the company that possibly designed the artificial intelligence or the airline itself. But really, in those emergency situations, it's much more ethical to have a human behind the stick, because they are going to act to save their own skin, and possibly a robot may not because they don't have skin to save. I would imagine the first jobs that are going to be lost in the aviation industry are most definitely in the military. This is because it's the highest risk of life-threatening danger, and it could save them the most money. The United States military already has drones that can take off by themselves and go acquire a target and eliminate that target with onboard weapons. I actually was just listening to a gentleman talk about how he developed a drone that has a mounted 12-gauge shotgun that will hunt other drones and shoot them down. So most definitely the military is going to see the first adoption of completely AI-controlled aircraft, especially because things like fighter jets and attack drones, they don't have any other passengers other than the crew on board, and the crew is very expensive to train. It costs millions upon millions of dollars to train a pilot, and you have to maintain them. So it would be much cheaper to have an AI be able to fly that airplane. However, we are going to see, I think personally, that we are going to see the drones and the UAS market for the military just explode, and they will start slowing down their production of traditional fighter jets before they eliminate it altogether. So I think fighter pilots have a good amount of time, probably my lifetime, I would imagine, before it really becomes an issue of trying to get a job or not. The other thing is law enforcement. Law enforcement is probably going to adopt AI pilots pretty early on, to use as things like, have you ever seen those signs, speed enforced by aircraft? That is a real thing, whether you've seen it or not. I live in California, and the California Highway Patrol have a mixture of helicopters as well as fixed-wing airplanes. The helicopters serve a dual purpose for search and rescue, like medical rescues and things like that, and then also speed monitoring. But the fixed-wing airplanes pretty much have a sole purpose of checking speeds on the highway from the air. They can actually get your speed from the air with radar technology, if you didn't know. And they also have a lot of them also have onboard cameras to track fleeing suspects, if you didn't know. That's pretty cool as well, but we can talk about that in another video. So I would imagine that law enforcement is going to adopt drone and AI technology to monitor freeways. It would be much cheaper to monitor freeways for speeders by having drones just constantly flying along the length of the freeway. And now they can land and charge themselves. It's pretty ridiculous. When compared to other countries like France, who have much stricter and more organized systems for catching speeders, like a lot of cameras on their roads, I can really see the U.S. adopting that in their law enforcement agencies. Now, getting towards the later of the pack is going to be passenger airplanes. Passenger airplanes like airlines are going to be, or even military cargo airplanes, are really going to be towards the last because really there's that ethical issue and obviously also just a technological barrier. Now, what we are seeing, what we have in the market today is impressive enough. And I would imagine that they already have developed systems that can reliably fly airplanes on their own, but it's probably a ways away from getting released. So for now, honestly, if you're a pilot or you're looking at being a pilot, I wouldn't be too fussed or too worried about possibly your job getting taken over by a robot for now. I would imagine that until a lot of this stuff starts getting implemented, it's gonna be at least one more generation of pilots that are around my age that are gonna be able to serve out a full career, hopefully. I would hate to see a lot of pilots get their career interrupted, halfway through 10 or 15 years from now because AI is taking over the job position. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you have any other comments or if you think I'm wrong, leave them down in the comment section below. If you like the video, hit the like. If you dislike the video, hit the dislike button twice and you'll really let me know that you didn't like it. All right, everybody, Nessie and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.